Yaya and I were the best sisters in the orphanage. One day, two people came to the orphanage to adopt us. One was a man. He was in a wheelchair and dressed shabbily. The other was a female worker, neatly dressed, and she looked hardworking, kind, and capable. Yaya seized the chance to choose the female worker first, then gave me a sly smile and said, "Xing Xing, you're good at taking care of people. Go home with that disabled man and wipe his ass and change his urine bag for him." So, I was adopted by the disabled man unexpectedly. His poverty was an act, and so was his disability. He was Lu Haichuan, one of Jiangqing's tycoons, and I became the glamorous eldest daughter of the Lu family. While Yaya was living an ordinary life with Huang Shuamei and working as a waitress, she saw the Lu family holding a grand 20th birthday banquet for me, with the heir to the Jiangcheng crown as my fiancé. Consumed by jealousy, she stabbed me to death with a knife and cried out in unwilling rage. "Clearly, we came from the same orphanage, so why am I so miserable while you have it so good?" When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the orphanage, to the day we chose our adoptive parents. This time, Yaya still got there first, but the one she rushed to this time was Lu Haichuan, who was in a wheelchair. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders and said sweetly, "Dad, I want to be your daughter. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you, honor you, and be your good daughter." Without hesitation, I walked toward Huang Shuamei and took her rough hand. "Mom, I'm going home with you." While packing up, Yaya said to me with a smug look on her face, "This time it's my turn to be the Lu family's eldest daughter. You can stay with that poor loser and live a life of poverty, misery, and lovelessness." I smiled and wished her well. She didn't know that the Lu family's purpose in adopting a daughter was not simple. I lay in a pool of blood, with a fruit knife stuck in my chest. Yaya's contorted face swayed in my increasingly blurred vision as she cried out frantically, "Why, we clearly came from the same orphanage, so why do you get to live so well?" The excruciating pain left me unable to speak. In my ears were the guests' screams, my so-called fiancé watching coldly from the sidelines, and Lu Haichuan's low voice as he frowned and ordered the butler to handle the scene. Before my last trace of consciousness faded, what I saw was Yaya being dragged away by the bodyguards. Tears on her face mixed with both satisfaction and despair. "Xing Xing, Yaya, come over quickly, there's a family that wants to adopt you too." The familiar voice of the headmistress yanked me abruptly back to reality. I jolted all over and opened my eyes, only to find myself standing in the brightly sunlit recreation room of the orphanage. I looked down at my hands, small, clean, with none of the calluses I later got from practicing various musical instruments. "This is a rebirth, Xing Xing. What are you spacing out for?" Yaya nudged my shoulder, a familiar fake smile on her face. "I heard two prospective adopters came today. We have to perform well." My heart was pounding wildly as I followed her toward the reception room, every step feeling as if I were treading on cotton. Inside the reception room, the two people who would change our fate were already seated there. On one side was Lu Haichuan, sitting in a wheelchair, dressed plainly and looking utterly down and out. On the other side was Huang Shuamei, a neatly dressed female worker, nervously rubbing her hands together. "I want to adopt a well-behaved, sensible girl," Huang Shuamei said gently. Lu Haichuan merely nodded coldly. "I need someone who can take care of others." Yaya's eyes darted back and forth between the two of them. In her previous life, she had chosen the seemingly hardworking and kind Huang Shuamei without hesitation, leaving the disabled and poor Lu Haichuan to me. But this time, "Dad," Yaya suddenly rushed toward Lu Haichuan in the wheelchair and called out sweetly, "I want to be your daughter. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you, be filial to you, and be your good daughter." She wrapped her arms around Lu Haichuan's neck, wearing a fawning smile I had never seen before. I almost let out a cold laugh. It seems she was reborn too. Lu Haichuan was obviously startled by this sudden burst of enthusiasm, but soon a hint of calculation I was familiar with flashed in his eyes. Good child." He patted Yaya's back, his voice carrying false emotion. I took a deep breath and walked straight toward Huang Shuamei without hesitation, taking her rough hand in mine. "Mom," I choked out, my voice trembling, and this time I was truly about to cry. "I'll go home with you." Huang Shuamei froze, then tears welled up in her eyes as she pulled me into her arms. Good child," she repeated, her voice trembling. While packing up my personal belongings, Yaya leaned close to my ear and whispered smugly, "This time it's my turn to be the Lu family's young lady. You can go live a poor, miserable, loveless life with that pauper." I smiled at her. "I wish you happiness." She didn't know that the Liu family had never adopted a daughter out of kindness. She had no idea what kind of living hell awaited her. She had even less idea how grateful I was that she had snatched this opportunity away from me. When Huang Shuamei held my hand and walked me out of the orphanage, the sunlight was just right. I looked up at the woman who would become my real mother, my heart filled with gratitude. This time, I could finally have a real home. Huang Shuamei held my hand and led me into an old residential building. The hallway was filled with the smell of cooking, and the walls were covered with all kinds of little ads, yet it felt incredibly familiar to me. This is our home. Huang Shuamei took out the keys, a little embarrassed. The conditions aren't very good, so please don't mind. After the door opened, a man in his 40s poked his head out from the kitchen, flour dusted on his apron. Old Li, this is Xingxing. Huang Shuamei nudged me. Xingxing, this is Uncle Li. I bowed deeply. Hello, Dad. The spatula in Li Guoqiang's hand clattered to the floor, and the eyes of this honest man instantly turned red. Oh, okay. He wiped his hands nervously on his apron. Dinner will be ready soon. You two can rest first. This little home, less than 60 square meters, had a slightly yellowed floor and rather old furniture, but it was bright and clean, and there were a few green plants on the balcony. My small room was partitioned off with a curtain, but the bed was made up with a brand new floral bedspread, and there was a handmade cloth doll by the pillow. I didn't know what you liked, so I made one myself. Huang Shuamei rubbed her hands together. The stitches are a little crooked. I held tightly onto the somewhat rough cloth doll, and my tears finally broke free. Thank you, Mom, I really like it. This was a warmth I had never experienced in the Liu family in my previous life. Dinner was a simple 3-dish, 1 soup meal, and Li Guoqiang kept putting food into my bowl until it piled up like a small mountain. Eat more, you're still growing. He smiled in an honest, good-natured way. I took the initiative to clear the dishes, but Huang Shuamei quickly stopped me. No need, go and rest. I want to help, I insisted. I often do these things at the orphanage. After I finished washing the dishes neatly and even wiped down the stove, Huang Shuamei secretly wiped the corners of her eyes. Old Li, we've struck gold. Late at night, when everything was quiet, I lay on my small bed, listening to Li Guoqiang's snoring coming from the room next door, and felt utterly at ease. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Yaya. The Liu family sent a Mercedes to pick me up. Tomorrow I'm going to buy new clothes. Jealous. I could almost see the smug look on her face. I didn't reply. I just deleted the text. The next morning, I was awakened by the smell drifting from the kitchen. Huang Shuamei had already made breakfast, and Li Guoqiang was clumsily trying to fry an egg into the shape of a heart. Dad, Mom, good morning. I rubbed my eyes as I walked into the kitchen. Both of them turned around at the same time, wearing identical warm smiles. Awake, Xingxing. Come taste your dad's masterpiece. Huang Shuamei teased. Li Guoqiang blushed as he placed the slightly lopsided heart-shaped egg in front of me. At that moment, I knew I had truly come home. In the afternoon, I was helping Huang Shuamei shell edamame when the doorbell rang. Outside stood Yaya, head held high and haughty, with a black Mercedes parked behind her. She was wearing a brand new dress, her little leather shoes gleaming, and a delicate pendant hung around her neck. Star, she spread her arms exaggeratedly. I came to see how you've been doing. Huang Shuamei enthusiastically invited her into the house, but Yaya wrinkled her nose. No need. I'm just here to deliver an invitation. She handed me a gold-embossed card. You have to come to my welcome party next week. I took the invitation and noticed a red mark on her wrist. What's wrong with your hand? I asked. Yaya quickly pulled down her sleeve. It's nothing. I accidentally bumped it while practicing the piano. Her eyes flickered for a moment, then she lifted her chin again. Dad Liu is so good to me. He hired the best piano teacher for me. She proudly shook the diamond-studded bracelet on her wrist. This was bought with today's allowance. Huang Shuamei brought out a plate of freshly baked cookies. Yaya, take some home to eat. Yaya glanced at them with disdain. No need. The French desserts made by my family's chef are even better. She turned to leave, then looked back and winked at me. Remember to come to the party. I'll let you see what real high society life is like. The Mercedes drove off at speed, and Huang Shuamei looked at me with some concern. Xingxing, are you sad? I shook my head and took a bite of the cookie. Sweet and delicious. This is the best cookie in the world. Huang Shuamei's eyes turned red again. That night, I lay in bed, thinking back to the red marks on Yaya's wrist during the day, that wasn't caused by practicing the piano. I was far too familiar with that kind of injury. those were marks left by being struck with a belt, in my past life. The first such scar I got was on the third day after I arrived at the Liu family. It was because I accidentally spilled milk on my dress at breakfast. How can the Liu family's eldest daughter be so rude? Madame Liu said coldly, and lashed my palm 3 times with a belt, and Yaya had only been there for 1 day and the phone buzzed again. It was a photo from Yaya. She was standing in a luxurious walk-in closet, surrounded by designer clothes. The caption read, "This is what life is all about." I didn't tell her that the walk-in closet was actually the Liu family's display room. Whenever guests came to visit, we adopted daughters would be brought in to pose for photos, and once the pictures were taken, we had to return all the clothes. The real eldest daughter of the Liu family never needed to show off these things. Late at night, I lay wrapped in my blanket, tears streaming down silently. But this time, they were tears of relief. I finally escaped that hell. The morning sunlight streamed through the sheer curtains into my small room. I opened my eyes and glanced at the alarm clock by the bed, 6:30 in my past life at the Liu family. I had to get up at 5 every day to begin a full day of rigorous training. Now, I can sleep an extra hour and a half. There was a faint noise coming from the kitchen. Wang Shuimei had already gotten up to make breakfast. I quickly got dressed and tiptoed to the kitchen doorway. "Mom, let me help you." Wang Shuimei was startled, and the spatula in her hand nearly fell to the floor. "Why are you up so early, Xingxing? Children need to sleep more." I took the spatula from her hand and expertly flipped the fried eggs in the pan. I got used to it at the orphanage, getting up early to help out. Of course, that was a lie, but seeing the relieved look in Wang Shuimei's eyes, this kind lie was worth it. After breakfast, Li Guiqiang was about to go to work. He was an ordinary factory technician, with a modest income but enough to make ends meet. "Dad, take care on the way." I handed him the packed lunchbox. Li Guiqiang froze, and his rough hands trembled slightly as he took the lunchbox. Okay. This honest man was not good at expressing himself, but I saw him secretly wipe the corners of his eyes as he turned away. "Wang Shuimei is also going to work at the textile factory, Xingxing. There are vegetables in the fridge, heat them up yourself for lunch," she reminded me. "I'll be back before 6. I nodded and saw her to the door. After closing the door, I looked around this simple yet cozy little home, and a sense of responsibility welled up in my heart. The skills I learned in the Liu family in my past life were finally about to come in handy. At first, I thoroughly cleaned the whole house. I moved the sofa to a different spot, making the living room look more spacious. I reorganized the kitchen utensils, making them easier to use. Even the flower pots on the balcony were adjusted to angles that would let the plants get more sunlight. At noon, I had a light meal, then dug out Wang Shuimei's sewing machine. In my previous life, in order to become a proper lady, I had undergone strict sewing training. I found a few of Wang Shuimei's old clothes and began altering them. When Wang Shuimei pushed open the front door that evening, she was stunned. This is, I nervously showed her my work. "I turned your old dress into a new style, and I also made 2 shopping bags. Eco-friendly bags like these are very popular now, and they could be sold." Wang Shuimei reached out with trembling hands to touch the delicate stitches, then suddenly pulled me into a hug. "Star, you're amazing." Her hug was warm and strong, reminding me of the motherly love I had never received in my past life. At dinner, I brought up an idea. "Mom, I learned some sewing skills in the orphanage. We could take on some alteration jobs to increase our income." Li Guiqiang put down his chopsticks and asked seriously, "Will it affect your studies?" "No, I'll just treat it as an after-school hobby," Wang Shuimei said thoughtfully. There really are quite a few coworkers at the factory complaining that they can't find a good tailor to alter their clothes, and just like that, our family's side business began. A month later, I was sorting out that day's orders when the doorbell rang. It was the mailman, delivering a letter with gilded edges. Yaya's handwriting, full of sweeping flourishes, had written my name on it. I opened the envelope and found a photo and a letter inside. Yaya in the photo is wearing a gorgeous gown, standing beside a grand piano, with a perfect smile, but my gaze was immediately drawn to her hand resting on the keys. Her fingertips were wrapped in band-aids. The letter read, "Dear Star, the Liu family held a solo piano recital for me, and lots of celebrities came. Dad Liu said I was very talented, just not hardworking enough, but it doesn't matter, I'm definitely going to become the best. P.S. My dress was custom-made and cost 50,000 yuan. I sighed and put the letter and the photo into the drawer. That night, Huang Shuimei came back looking a little pale. Mom. What's wrong? I hurriedly helped her sit down. She forced a smile. I'm fine, I'm probably just too tired. I touched her forehead. She didn't have a fever, but her wrists were a little swollen. Mom, you should rest. Starting tomorrow, I'll take care of all the sewing work. Huang Shuimei wanted to object, but I was firm in my stance. That's settled then. I'm young, and I'm quick-handed. Late at night, I lay in bed, my thoughts in turmoil. At this point in my previous life, I had already begun receiving the Liu family's body training, standing against the wall for 3 hours every day, and being beaten for the slightest lapse to maintain an elegant neckline. You were not allowed to use a pillow while sleeping. Yaya should be going through all this too now, right? The next day was the weekend, and I decided to go to the library. As I passed a newsstand, the cover of a financial magazine caught my attention. A photo of Liu Haichuan in a suit and tie stood out starkly, with the headline, "The Liu Group Achieves New Glory." A chill ran through me, and I hurried past. In the library, I looked through some books on investment and financial management. In my previous life, at the Liu family, I had been forced to study financial knowledge so that I could support my husband's family in the future. Now, this knowledge can be used to help my real family. On the way home, I bought some medicated plasters for promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis at the pharmacy. Huang Shuimei's wrist needs treatment. As soon as I reached the front door, I heard Huang Shuimei's muffled sobbing from inside. My heart tightened, and I hurried to open the door. Mom, what's wrong? Huang Shuimei looked up, tear tracks on her face, but her eyes were glinting with an uncanny light. I'm pregnant. I froze, and then a wave of wild joy surged through me. Really? That's wonderful. Huang Shuimei looked worried, but our conditions are so poor, and, will you feel? I held her hand tightly. Mom, I'll be a good older sister, I promise. At that moment, I genuinely looked forward to this little brother or sister's arrival. This was completely different from Yaya's reaction in her past life when she learned that Huang Shuimei was pregnant. At the time, Yaya caused a huge scene, saying they had their own biological child and no longer wanted their adopted daughter. That night, I applied ointment to Huang Shuimei's wrist and gently massaged it. Xing, where did you learn all this? She asked curiously. I smiled. An auntie at the orphanage taught me some nursing knowledge. Huang Shuimei suddenly lowered her voice. That Yaya who often writes to you, is she doing well? My hand paused for a moment. She has adjusted well to life in a wealthy family. Huang Shuimei sighed. That child's look when she looks at you isn't very friendly. You should be careful. I was surprised by her sharpness and nodded. Before bed, I checked our sewing side business ledger. This month, we netted 2,300 yuan. Not a bad start. I quietly deposited the money into Huang Shuimei's account. The phone vibrated again. It was another text from Yaya. Tomorrow I'm going to a ladies' tea party, and Aunt Lu bought me a diamond hairpin. Jealous? I didn't reply. I just turned off my phone. Outside the window, moonlight softly spilled over my quilt. This humble little room was 1,000 times warmer than the luxurious bedroom in the Liu family home. In the hospital corridor, I paced back and forth nervously. Li Guoqiang sat on the bench, his hands clasped tightly, knuckles turning white. Dad, have some water, I said, handing him the bottle of mineral water. He shook his head, his eyes fixed on the delivery room door. Suddenly, a loud baby's cry pierced the silence. A few minutes later, the nurse came out holding a swaddled infant. Congratulations, it's a healthy baby boy. Li Guoqiang took the child with trembling hands, and this tall man suddenly broke down in tears. Xing, come see your little brother. I carefully leaned closer. The tiny face in the swaddling clothes was wrinkled, yet it stirred an unprecedented urge in my heart to protect him. He's so tiny, I said softly. The nurse smiled. 6 Jin and 8 Liang. Not small at all. Your mom is doing well too. She'll be out soon. When Huang Shuimei was wheeled out, her face was pale, but it was filled with a happy smile. Xing, you have a little brother now. I held her hand and nodded, my throat feeling choked by something. After we got home, our little family settled into a new routine. I named my younger brother Xiaoyang, symbolizing sunshine and hope. During Huang Shuimei's postpartum confinement, I took care of all the housework and sewing. The first thing Li Guoqiang did after getting off work every day was wash his hands and hold his son, then head into the kitchen to cook for me and Huang Shuimei. Dad, take a break, I would always say, but he would always shake his head with a smile. I'm not tired, I'm happy. On the day Xiaoyang turned 1 month old, we held a simple celebration at home. the neighbors came one after another with their blessings and little gifts, and the small living room was packed with people, lively and bustling. I held Xiao Yang in my arms, and his big, dark, rolling eyes curiously took in the world around him. Xingxing really does look like a proper big sister, Aunt Wang next door said with a smile. Wang Shuamei proudly put her arm around my shoulder. My Xingxing is the best big sister, at this moment. I felt an unprecedented sense of belonging. In my previous life at the Liu family, I was never truly regarded as one of the family there. I was merely a carefully nurtured display item. The next day, I was hanging clothes on the balcony when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, is this Li Xingxing? A cool female voice said. I'm the Liu family's housekeeper. Miss Ye has invited you to attend her birthday banquet next week. I froze. Why didn't she call herself the young lady is very busy, the other party said briefly. The invitation will be sent to your home. Please attend on time. The call ended. I stood on the balcony, looking at the skyscrapers in the distance, my mind racing. At this time in my previous life, I had already begun accompanying the Liu family to various social events, preparing for the future marriage alliance. Those so-called banquets were nothing more than disguised showcases. We adopted daughters were displayed like merchandise to potential buyers. That night, I told Wang Shuamei about it. She frowned. Do you want to go? I shook my head. No, but I'm a little worried about Yaya. Wang Shuamei sighed. That child, if she needs help, we should lend a hand. I looked at her gratefully. Even knowing how Yaya treated us in her past life, Wang Shuamei was still so kind. Yaya's invitation arrived the very next day. The gold-embossed card read, Miss Liu Yaya's 16th birthday celebration, and the venue was the most luxurious hotel in Jiangcheng. A note was enclosed with the letter, be sure to come, and let you see what real high society is like. The handwriting was sloppy, as if written in a hurry. For the birthday banquet, I wore a simple blue dress, altered by Wang Shuamei herself for me. My little star is so beautiful. She helped me straighten my collar, her eyes full of pride. Li Guoqiang borrowed a coworker's car to take me to the hotel. Call me half an hour before it ends, and I'll come pick you up. He reminded me. Luxury cars were parked all over the hotel entrance, and uniformed attendants moved back and forth. I took a deep breath and walked in. The banquet hall was resplendent and magnificent, with guests dressed in fine clothes raising their glasses and chatting beneath the crystal chandeliers. I spotted Yaya standing in the center at a glance. She was wearing a custom-made pink gown, with a small diamond tiara on her head, looking like a real princess. But when she turned around, I noticed that her cheeks had thinned a lot, and there was a faint bluish darkness under her eyes. Xingxing. She saw me and spread her arms wide in an exaggerated gesture. You're finally here. She held my hand and introduced me to the people around us. This is my best sister from the orphanage, Li Xingxing. I smiled politely, but found those society ladies sizing me up with scrutinizing looks. Oh, you mean the girl adopted by a working-class family? A girl in a red dress said dismissively. Yeye giggled. Yes, but Xingxing has really adapted well to ordinary life. I ignored their ridicule and carefully observed Yaya. She was wearing a pearl bracelet on her wrist, cleverly covering something. When she raised her hand, I saw it, a faint pink scar. In my past life, I had also had such a scar that was burned by Mrs. Liu with a cigarette, but because I said something wrong at the banquet. Yaya, how have you been lately? I asked softly. Her smile froze for a moment, then became even brighter. Of course I'm doing well. Dad Liu hired the best teachers for me, and now I can speak 3 languages. She pulled me to a display stand, which was covered with gifts. Look, this is the diamond necklace Uncle Zhang gave me, and this is the limited edition bag Aunt Wang gave me. Watching her name off each item so proudly, I felt a wave of sadness. She was becoming the person I had been in my past life, an empty shell wrapped in material things. Halfway through the banquet, Mrs. Liu, a finely made-up woman of high society, clapped her hands. Everyone, Yaya will be performing a piano solo for everyone. Yaya's face instantly turned pale, but she quickly forced out a perfect smile. She walked over to the grand piano, and when she sat down, I saw that her fingers were trembling slightly. The music began to play. It was a very difficult Chopin etude. Halfway through, she suddenly hit a wrong note. The guests may not have noticed, but I saw Madame Liu's gaze turn cold in an instant. Yaya's fingers began to fluster, and the mistakes became more and more frequent. Finally, she barely finished the performance. Applause erupted, and as she bowed, I saw a drop of sweat slide from her forehead. I'm going to the restroom for a moment," she said hurriedly to me, then quickly left. I hesitated for a moment, then followed her. In the restroom, I heard muffled sobs. Pushing open the door, Yaya was standing in front of the mirror, wiping away her tears. When she saw me, she immediately straightened her back. "What, did you come to see me make a fool of myself?" she sneered. I handed her a tissue. "You played very well." She suddenly slapped my hand away. "Cut the hypocrisy. I know what you're thinking. Look, Yaya made a fool of herself, right?" I shook my head. "I'm just worried about you." "Worried about me?" She laughed exaggeratedly. "Worried that I'm living too well, right?" She suddenly rolled up her sleeve, revealing several scars. "See that? This is the price of becoming a lady of high society, but I'm willing to pay it. At least I don't have to be a poor loser like you for the rest of my life." I looked at her calmly. "If this is what you want, then I wish you happiness." She froze, seemingly not expecting me to answer like that. You wait." She bit her lip. "I will definitely become the most outstanding young lady of the Liu family." Back in the banquet hall, I took my leave early. Walking out of the hotel, the night sky was dotted with stars. I called Li Guiqiang, then stood by the roadside waiting. Behind me was the brightly lit hotel, filled with false smiles and empty praise. Ahead of me was my home, simple but real, ordinary yet warm. Li Guiqiang arrived very quickly. "How is it?" he asked with concern. I fastened my seatbelt and said with a smile, "Dad, our family is really nice." He looked a little puzzled, but nodded with a smile. "Yes, really nice." When I got home, Wang Shuimei was still awake, coaxing Xiaoyang to sleep. "Why are you back so early?" she asked. I walked over and gently hugged her and Xiaoyang. "Because I missed you." Xiaoyang burst into giggles in my arms, his little hands clutching my hair. At that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. A few days later, while sorting through the mailbox, I found an unsigned letter. Inside was only one line: "Save me." The handwriting was messy, as if it had been written in a hurry. I stared at the note, my emotions a tangled mix. Was it Yaya? If so, what should I do? The morning sunlight streamed through the window onto the desk, and I stared at the computer screen, my heart pounding like a drum. "Xingxing, did you find anything?" Wang Shuimei asked anxiously, holding Xiaoyang and standing behind me. I took a deep breath and clicked the refresh button. At last, the search results popped up on the screen. Admitted, Jiangcheng Normal University, majoring in Chinese language and literature. Wang Shuimei let out a scream that startled Xiaoyang, making him flinch, and then he too burst into giggles. Li Guiqiang rushed out of the kitchen, still holding a spatula. "Really, that's wonderful." He scooped me up in one motion and spun me around. Drops of oil from the spatula splattered onto the wall, but neither of us cared. My little star is a college student now. Wang Shuimei wiped away her tears. "Old Li, hurry and buy a few more dishes. We're going to celebrate properly today." Xiaoyang mimicked his mother, patting my face with his chubby little hands. "Sister is awesome." At that moment, I felt a sense of accomplishment like never before. In my past life at the Liu family, my studies were never taken seriously. They only cared whether I could play the piano well, dance well, and comport myself properly in social settings. Now, through my own efforts, I had been admitted to my dream university. That very day, Wang Shuimei bought a picture frame, carefully mounted my admission letter in it, and hung it in the most eye-catching spot in the living room. In the days that followed, she praised me to everyone she met. My Xingxing got into a normal university. She's going to be a teacher someday. The neighbors all came to offer their congratulations, and Aunt Wang even brought over homemade red date cake. Xingxing has been smart since she was little. I always knew she'd amount to something. I smiled shyly, but inside I felt warm all over. This simple pride was 1,000 times more precious than the Liu family's hypocritical praise. One afternoon, I was organizing my high school textbooks, preparing to sell the ones I didn't need. Suddenly, a note fell out from an old book. It was the anonymous letter from months ago, the one that read, "Help me." I stared at the note, my feelings complicated ever since that birthday banquet. I hadn't received any news from Yaya. Occasionally, when I saw reports about the Liu family in the news, they were all about business activities. After hesitating, I still put the note away. If she really needs help, she should contact me again, right? Time flies. Before I knew it, it was already the eve of the new semester. Wang Shuimei and Li Guiqiang insisted on taking me to school. Our Xingxing is going to college for the first time. Of course the whole family has to be there. Huang Shuimei said as she stuffed all kinds of snacks into the suitcase. Xiaoyang is already over 2 years old, and he's at that lively, energetic stage. He hugged my leg and wouldn't let go. Sister, don't go. I crouched down and kissed his little face. Sister will come back every week and bring you tasty treats, okay? He tilted his head and thought for a moment, then held out his pinky finger. Pinky promise. The whole family laughed. College life was even better than I had imagined. I could finally choose the courses I liked and join clubs that interested me. I joined the literature club and also signed up for the Handicrafts Association. Every week when I went home, I would bring Xiaoyang some little toys I made myself, and tell Huang Shuimei and Li Guiqiang amusing stories from school. This ordinary yet fulfilling life was exactly what I had longed for in my past life. On my 18th birthday, I was in the dormitory studying for my midterm exams. My phone suddenly rang. It was Li Guiqiang. Star, come downstairs for a moment. I'm at the entrance to your dormitory. I hurried downstairs in confusion, only to see Li Guiqiang standing beside a brand new electric scooter, grinning like a child. Happy birthday, Star. I froze. Dad, this is your mother and I saved up some money, thinking it would make it easier for you to get back and forth between school and home. He rubbed his hands together. It's not a fancy car, so don't look down on it. Tears welled up in my eyes in an instant. This ordinary electric bike was far more precious than any luxury item the Liu family had ever given me in my previous life, because it carried true love and thoughtfulness. Thank you, Dad. I love it so much. I threw myself into his arms. On the way back to the dorm, I rode my electric scooter, my heart full of happiness. As I passed through the city center, a black luxury car suddenly pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Yeya's delicate face. Star, is that really you? She looked me up and down. Riding an electric scooter, how shabby. I looked at her calmly. What is it? She took off her sunglasses, revealing weary eyes beneath her heavy makeup. Today is my birthday too. The Liu family threw me a grand coming-of-age ceremony. She shook the diamond bracelet on her wrist. See, limited edition. I nodded. Congratulations. She seemed dissatisfied with my reaction. That's all you have to say. Aren't you jealous? I smiled. Yeah, happy birthday. I wish you happiness. She froze, then let out a cold laugh. What are you pretending to be so high-minded for? I know you're jealous of me. After saying that, she rolled up the car window and the luxury car sped away. I shook my head and kept riding toward the school. That evening, the girls in the dorm prepared a small cake for me, and we celebrated simply but warmly. Just as we were singing the birthday song, my phone rang again. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, Xingxing. It was Yeya's voice, trembling with tears. I want to see you. Can I? I walked out into the hallway. What's wrong? I'm at the back gate of your school. Please, don't tell anyone. Her voice sounded really off. I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. In the small grove by the school's back gate, Yeya was sitting alone on a bench, her formal dress wrinkled and her makeup smeared. Seeing me, she suddenly burst into tears. They want me to go keep company with an old man, she said through sobs. They said he's a business partner, and that I should take good care of him. My heart tightened. This was exactly how my nightmare had begun in my previous life. My dad said he raised me all these years just for this day. I sat down beside her and handed her a tissue. You can refuse. How could I refuse? She said despairingly. Everything I have was given by the Liu family. Without them, I'm nothing. I looked at her, my heart a mix of emotions. In my past life, I had also felt this helpless. Yeah, call the police, or I can help you contact a women's protection organization. She abruptly looked up, a flicker of fear flashing in her eyes. No, absolutely not. She grabbed my hand. Xingxing, can you take me in for one night? Just one night? I'll go back tomorrow. I sighed and nodded. The dorm wasn't convenient, so I took her to a small hotel near the school. When we checked into a room, the front desk gave us an odd look. A girl in a gorgeous gown and a college student in the room. Yeya finally calmed down a little. That man was in his 60s, and he smelled bad. She trembled as she said, the way he looked at me, like I was a piece of meat. I poured her a cup of hot water. When did this happen? Tonight, at my birthday banquet. She gave a bitter smile. How ironic, huh? My coming-of-age ceremony. I listened silently as she told her story, how the Liu family meticulously orchestrated this matchmaking, how they hinted that she had to please that man, how they threatened to take back all their favors if she didn't obey. I thought I was more discerning than you, she suddenly said. I chose the Liu family, thinking I could live the best life. I shook my head. Yeah, it's not too late to leave now. She bit her lip. But, where can I go? I don't know how to do anything, and I don't even have a high school diploma. You can learn, I said softly, just like me. She looked up at me, a flicker of hope flashing in her eyes, but it quickly died out again. No, I can't do it. She stood up. Thank you for taking me in tonight. I should go back. I grabbed her hand. Yeah, think it over again. She broke free from my grip and forced a smile. This is my fate, at least. I can still wear designer brands and live in a mansion, right? Watching her receding back, I felt a sharp pang of pain in my heart. Early the next morning, the news reported that the Lu Group had reached a strategic partnership with a large enterprise. In the accompanying photo, Lu Haichuan was all smiles as he shook hands with a man in his 60s. Meanwhile, Ye stood nearby in a well-tailored suit, wearing a perfect smile. Only I could see how hollow that smile was. After the midterm exam ended, I rode my electric bike home. Xiaoyang has already started kindergarten, and every day when he comes back, he excitedly chats about the fun things that happened there. Big sister, I got a little red flower today. As soon as he saw me, he rushed over. I picked him up and spun him around. So great, big sister is proud of you. Huang Shuimei was busy in the kitchen, while Li Guoqiang was fixing Xuyang's toy car. This ordinary life was, to me, the most precious treasure. In the evening, I was helping Xiaoyang take a bath when my phone suddenly rang. It was an MMS message sent from an unknown number. In the photo, Yeya is wearing a sexy evening gown, holding the arm of an old man. The postscript had only one sentence: "This is the life I should be living." I didn't reply. I just deleted the photo. While drying Xiaoyang off, he suddenly asked, "Sister, are you unhappy?" I was surprised by how sensitive he was and kissed his forehead. "No, sister is very happy." He tilted his head at me. "But you frowned just now." I pulled him into my arms. "Sister was just thinking about a friend." "Is your friend unhappy?" I sighed. "Yeah, she's very unhappy, but I don't know how to help her." Xiaoyang patted my face with his damp little hand. "Give her some candy. Whenever I'm unhappy, it's fine as long as mom gives me candy." I couldn't help laughing. "Good idea, I'll try it next time." Before bed, I stood on the balcony, gazing at Jiangqing's night view in the distance. Amid that sea of lights, Ye was in some luxurious banquet hall, forcing a smile as she dealt with those nauseating distinguished guests. Yet I, on the other hand, could enjoy the warmth of home on such a peaceful night. Fate had given us a chance to start over. I chose ordinary love, while she chose illusory wealth and glory. The lights in the university library fell softly on the pages as I prepared for next week's literary theory exam. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Huang Shuimei. "Xiaoyang has a fever, 38.5 degrees C. He just took some medicine and went to sleep." "Don't worry," I immediately closed the book and dialed the phone. "Mom, is it serious? Do you want me to come back?" "No need, just focus on your studies." Huang Shuimei's voice sounded a little tired. "It's just a common cold. Your dad has the night shift tonight, so I can take care of him." I glanced at the clock. It was 8:20 p.m. "I'll be right back. You must be exhausted on your own." After hanging up, I quickly packed up my school bag. When I walked out of the library, the early spring night breeze was still a little chilly. I got on my electric scooter and rode home. Passing by the 24-hour pharmacy, I stopped to buy some fever-reducing patches and vitamins. Pushing open the front door, I found only a small lamp lit in the room. Huang Shuimei was sitting by Xiaoyang's bed, gently patting his back. "Mom, I'm home." She turned her head, her eyes full of surprise. "Didn't I tell you not to come back?" I put down my backpack and touched Xiaoyang's forehead. It was indeed very hot. "You can prepare for the exam again. But you only have one younger brother." Huang Shuimei's eyes reddened. I took out a cooling fever patch and gently placed it on Xiaoyang's forehead. He slowly opened his eyes in a daze. "Sister, be good. Sister's here. Go to sleep." I softly hummed a lullaby. When I was sick at the Lu family in my past life, I could only curl up alone on the bed, and no one would even hand me a cup of hot water. And now, I can protect the family I love. That night, Huang Shuimei and I took turns looking after Xiaoyang. At 3 in the morning, his fever finally went down. Huang Shuimei insisted that I go get some sleep. Lying on the small bed, I heard my phone vibrate again. It was a text message from an unknown number. "I'm at the east gate of your school. Please come here." Yeah. I stared at the message, hesitating. Since we last met, we haven't been in touch for more than half a year. I would occasionally see news about her, all glamorous social events in the end, I replied, 7 a.m., tomorrow, meet me at the Eastgate Cafe. Early the next morning, I told Huang Shuamei I was going to school to review, and left early. The Eastgate coffee shop had just opened, and there were hardly any customers. I chose a corner seat and ordered a cup of hot milk. Yaya was 20 minutes late. When she pushed the door open and came in, I could hardly recognize her. Heavy makeup couldn't hide her haggard face, and beneath the expensive cashmere coat, her wrists were frighteningly thin. "Thank you for coming," her voice was hoarse as she sat down. I slid the menu over. "Let's order some food first." She shook her head. "I can't eat up close." Her condition looked even worse. Her eyes were bloodshot, and there was a suspicious red mark on her neck. "What happened?" I asked softly. Yaya's hands were tightly twisted together. I can't take it anymore." Her tears suddenly broke loose. They treated me like a prostitute." The word came out of her mouth with heartbreaking agony. "After that old man." There were 3 more. Last week, Lu Haichuan asked me to spend the night with one of his business partners. I refused. She pulled up her sleeve, revealing the shocking bruises on her arm. "This was done by him," he said. "He said he raised me for this." I felt a wave of nausea as memories from my past life surged back like a tide. "Yeah, call the police," I suggested again. She shook her head frantically. "No, he'll kill me. You know how powerful the Lu family is." "Then run away," I said firmly. "Leave Jiangcheng and go to a place they can't find you." "How am I supposed to live?" she asked desperately. "I don't even know how to boil noodles." I took her cold hand. "You can learn, I'll help you." Yoya looked up, a glimmer of hope flashing in her eyes, but it quickly faded again. "It's too late. I'm already dirty." "It's not too late." I took out my phone. "A classmate of mine has an older cousin who works at a women's shelter. They can help you." Just as I was searching for the number, Yaya suddenly grabbed my hand. "Wait, why are you helping me?" I was so awful to you." I looked at her, the person who had killed me in my past life, yet at this moment, she made me feel pity, because the one helping you now is the me from the past. She couldn't understand the deeper meaning of those words, but tears welled up again. Xing. "I'm sorry, I used to." I shook my head. "Let's not talk about the past, right now. You need to make a decision." She bit her lip and finally nodded. I immediately contacted the staff member at the rescue station and arranged to take Yaya there in the afternoon. "Come home with me first and rest for a while," I suggested. Yaya hesitated a little. "Will it get your family involved?" "No, my parents are very kind." I took her home, and when Huang Shuamei saw Yaya, she was visibly stunned for a moment, but quickly greeted her warmly. "You must be Yaya, right? Xing often talks about you. Come in." Xu Yang's fever has gone down, and he is sitting on the sofa watching cartoons. When he sees Yaya, he blinks curiously. "Hello, pretty sis." Yaya forced a smile. "Hello." Huang Shuamei keenly noticed Yaya's condition and asked nothing, only bringing over hot soup and clean clothes. "Take a hot shower first, and change into something comfortable." Yaya's hands were shaking when she took the clothes. After the bathroom door closed, Huang Shuamei pulled me into the kitchen. "What's going on with that child?" I briefly explained the situation, and Huang Shuamei's expression grew increasingly grim. "What a tragedy, such a young girl." She wiped her hands and said, "Let her stay for a few days, we'll talk about it after I've contacted a rescue center." I hugged her gratefully. "Thank you, Mom." Yaya came out after finishing her bath, wearing Huang Shuamei's old clothes. She looked much younger, and much more fragile. Xiaoyang ran over and grabbed her hand. "Sis, will you play with blocks with me?" I saw a hint of tenderness flash in Yaya's eyes. In the afternoon, I was getting ready to take Yaya to the rescue center when she suddenly developed a high fever, 39 degrees. Huang Shuamei exclaimed after taking her temperature. "We need to go to the hospital." Yaya weakly shook her head. "No, can't go, they'll find me." Looking at her flushed cheeks, I made up my mind. "Mom, let's treat her at home first." I studied nursing. Huang Shuamei nodded and went to get fever-reducing medicine and an ice pack. That night, our whole family took turns caring for Yaya. In the middle of the night, her fever went down a little, but she started rambling in her delirium. "Don't, Mr. Lu, please, I'll be good, don't hit me." Every word she mumbled in her sleep felt like a knife stabbing into my heart. In my previous life, I had also struggled like this in nightmares. By dawn, Yaya finally quieted down. I was so exhausted that I fell asleep lying beside the bed. I felt someone gently stroking my hair. I opened my eyes and saw Yaya looking at me, tears welling in her eyes. you stayed by my side all night. I sat up straight and rubbed my sore neck. Do you feel any better? The Lu Group's business is largely illegal, Yaya said. They also adopt girls in order to curry favor with those partners who have special fetishes. I clenched her hand. All of this can be used as evidence to report them, but Yaya shook her head in fear. It's useless. They have people on the police force. She suddenly started coughing, and I quickly handed her some warm water. After she finished drinking the water, she looked at me seriously. If anything happens to me, there's a hidden compartment under the dresser in my room. Inside are my diary and some evidence. My heart tightened. Don't say that. You'll be fine. She shook her head with a bitter smile. I know too much. Lu Haichuan won't let me go easily. Wang Shuamei pushed the door open and came in, and when she saw that we were awake, she let out a sigh of relief. Are you hungry? I made some porridge. She brought over a bowl of steaming white porridge, sprinkled with some chopped scallions on top. Yaya took the bowl, and tears dripped into the porridge. Auntie, thank you. Wang Shuamei gently patted her head with affection. Silly child, hurry and eat. Watching this scene, I was filled with mixed emotions. In her past life, Yaya chose wealth and status, but lost the most precious warmth in this life. Fate gave her a chance, though cruel. It at least let her understand what true love is. In the afternoon, Yaya's fever broke, but she was still very weak. I insisted that she rest for another day and go to the rescue center tomorrow. That evening, Li Guiqiang came home from work. After learning what had happened, he supported our decision without a word. Our home may be small, but it's livelier with one more person, he said with a simple, honest smile. Yaya watched our family interacting, her eyes full of envy. You're all so nice, she said softly. In the stillness of the deep night, I was awakened by a faint sound of sobbing. When I got up to look, Yaya was sitting on the balcony, hugging her knees and crying silently. I walked over and gently draped my coat over her. Can't sleep. She lifted her head, her face looking especially pale in the moonlight. I'm scared. I sat down beside her. Once you go to the shelter tomorrow, you'll be safe. It's not that. She bit her lip. I'm afraid I won't be able to live like a normal person anymore. I took her cold hand. Take it slowly, it'll get better. She leaned against my shoulder, like a lost child. If I could do it all over again, I would never choose the Lu family. Those words made my heart tremble. Yes, we were both given a second chance, yet we made different choices. Early the next morning, just as we were getting ready to head to the rescue shelter, the doorbell suddenly rang. Through the peephole, I saw two men in black suits standing outside the door. Property management is checking the water pipes, one of them said. I froze all over and immediately signaled to Yaya to hide in the wardrobe. Huang Shuamei replied calmly, please wait a moment, we're having dinner. I quickly dialed the rescue station and explained the situation in a low voice. Hold on for 10 minutes. We'll send someone right away, the other side replied. Li Guiqiang stood in front of the door, stalling for time. May I ask which pipes are being inspected? We haven't reported any repairs recently. The person outside grew impatient. Routine inspection. Open the door quickly. At that critical moment, a siren suddenly sounded downstairs. The two men exchanged a glance and left in a hurry. Staff from the rescue center soon arrived and took Yaya out through the back door. Before leaving, Yaya held me tightly. Xing. Thank you. If I could start over, I would definitely become someone like you. I watched her get into the car, feeling a mix of emotions. When I got home, Huang Shuamei was comforting the frightened Xiaoyang. Mom, has the bad guy left? He asked in a babyish voice. He's gone, sweetheart. Don't be afraid. Wang Shuamei kissed his forehead. Li Guiqiang patted my shoulder. That child will be fine. I nodded, but I had a bad feeling. Yaya knows too much. The Lu family will not let her go easily. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text message from an unknown number. They found me, remember, under the dressing table. Yaya, I called back immediately, but it was already turned off. The next day, a local news alert popped up. Lu Group's adopted daughter accidentally fell from a building and died after being rushed to the hospital. The accompanying photo was taken at the hospital entrance. In the blur, Lu Haichuan could be seen sitting in a wheelchair, surrounded by reporters. I stared at the phone screen, cold all over. The person who killed me in my past life had left this world in such a way in this life, and what she left me in the end might be evidence capable of destroying the Lu family. The cherry blossoms on campus had bloomed, their pink and white petals drifting down in the wind. I sat in the corner of the library, and the book spread out in front of me had gone untouched for half an hour. On my phone screen was the last text message Yaya had sent. They found me, remember, under the dressing table. 3 days had passed, and Yaya's accidental fall from a building had become a local news sensation. The Liu family publicly claimed that she had died by suicide due to depression and even held a grand funeral for her. In the photo, Liu Haichuan was sitting in a wheelchair, looking grief-stricken, and was praised by the media as a loyal and affectionate foster father. I clenched my fists, my fingernails digging deep into my palms. "Are you okay, classmate?" A gentle male voice interrupted my thoughts. Looking up, I saw Lin Yi, a senior from the Department of Literature and the editor-in-chief of the school newspaper. "I'm fine, thank you." I forced a smile. He sat down opposite me and slid a cup of hot coffee over. "You look awful. Have you been studying too hard lately?" I shook my head and suddenly remembered that Lin Yi had once done an investigative report on the authenticity of the charity work of Zhongcheng entrepreneurs. "Senior, how much do you know about the Liu Group?" Lin Yi's gaze instantly sharpened. "Why do you ask?" I weighed my words carefully. "I recently saw news about their adopted daughter and got a bit curious." He glanced around and lowered his voice. "The waters at the Liu family are very deep. On the surface, they do charity, but behind the scenes, anyway, they're not good people." My heart raced. "Do you have any evidence?" "Some, but not enough." He looked at me warily. "Why are you so concerned?" I took a deep breath and decided to take a gamble. "What if I have evidence?" Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Half an hour later, we moved to the school newspaper office. I told the story of Yaya, but left out the parts about rebirth and the previous life. Before she died, she mentioned a hidden compartment under the dressing table, which may contain evidence. Lin Yi quickly took notes. "The Liu family's security is very tight. How did you get it?" That was exactly the question I was struggling with. I can try attending the memorial as Yaya's friend." He shook his head. "It's too dangerous. If the Liu family really is hiding something, they won't let you get near that room." We fell silent. Outside the window, the cherry blossoms continued to fall silently. "Wait." Lin Yi suddenly looked up. "Yaya's belongings, by custom, they should be handed over to her friends or the orphanage." My eyes lit up. "Right, I can try contacting the orphanage." After leaving the school newspaper office, I immediately called Mom. "The director, Xingxing." The director Mom's voice was full of sorrow. "You saw the news too, right? Poor Yaya." "Dean, what will happen to Yaya's belongings?" "The Liu family's belongings," she sighed. "By custom, they'll be sent back to the orphanage, but the Liu family said Yaya didn't have much, and they'll sort it out and send it over." My heart sank. "Dean, Yaya had a diary. It was very important to her. Could you help me ask about it?" "I'll give it a try, kid." After hanging up, I stood under the cherry blossom tree, feeling a wave of helplessness. Even if I knew where the evidence was, there was nothing I could do. When I got home, Huang Shuamei was in the kitchen cooking, and Xiaoyang was sitting on the floor building blocks. "Sis." He saw me and immediately rushed over. I picked him up, inhaling the faint milky scent on him, and my mood calmed down a little. "Xingxing, what's wrong?" Huang Shuamei keenly noticed that something was off about me. I hesitated for a moment, but still decided to tell her. "Mom, Yaya's death may not have been an accident." Huang Shuamei's hand trembled, and the spoon fell into the pot. "Are you sure?" I nodded and quietly told her about the clues Yaya had left behind. Huang Shuamei's face turned pale. "Xingxing, this is too dangerous. The Liu family is not someone we can fight against, but Yaya I know you're upset." She held me tightly. "But that child has already. I don't want to lose you too." Xiaoyang sensed the tense atmosphere and burst into tears. I hurriedly comforted him. Don't cry, I'm here." That evening, after Li Guoqiang came back, we held a family meeting. To my surprise, he supported me in exposing the truth. If that child really was murdered, we can't let her die in vain, the usually quiet man said firmly. Huang Shuamei rubbed her hands anxiously. "But what if the Liu family retaliates?" "Mom," I held her hand, "I'll be careful, and Yaya is my friend." The statement was half true and half false, but it was enough to convince Huang Shuamei. In the end, she sighed. "Then promise me, if there's any danger, you'll stop immediately." "I promise." The next day, the headmistress called. "Xingxing, the Liu family says Yaya's belongings have already been sorted out, and they'll be sent to the orphanage tomorrow. Do you want to come take a look?" "Of course, thank you, headmistress." After hanging up, I immediately contacted Lin Yi. "Great," he said excitedly over the phone. "I know a friend who understands locks and can help." The next afternoon, Lin Yi and I met at the orphanage entrance. Standing beside him was a tall, skinny man wearing glasses. This is Zhang Ming, from the Department of Electronic Engineering, a lock-picking expert, Lin Yi introduced. Zhang Ming smiled shyly. Don't listen to his nonsense, I'm just an enthusiast. The dean's mother looked at the three of us, somewhat puzzled. Xing, who are these two? A senior from our school newspaper wants to write a memorial article about Yaya. The dean nodded and took us to the storage room. This is the box sent by the Liu family. It was an ordinary cardboard box, labeled belongings of Liu Yaya. My heart was pounding. After the dean left for something, we quickly checked the suitcase. Inside were only a few items of clothing, some books, and a small jewelry box. There's no dressing table, I said in disappointment. Lin Yi picked up the photo album instead. Wait, what's this? He opened the album and pulled a note from the pocket in the back page. Star, I hid something in the tree hollow at the orphanage we used to visit. I shuddered all over. That tree, we used to exchange secrets there when we were kids. I know where it is. The three of us rushed to the old locust tree in the backyard. A small hole in the trunk was cleverly concealed by a piece of bark. I reached in and felt a cold metal object. When I took it out, it was a small USB flash drive. I found it, Zhang Ming exclaimed. We quickly returned to the dormitory and plugged it into the computer. There is only one video file and one document on the USB drive. The video is very blurry, but it clearly shows Liu Haichuan standing up from his wheelchair and shaking hands with several men. Then I'll leave this shipment to Mr. Liu, one man said. Don't worry, the customs side has already been taken care of. Liu Haichuan's voice was clearly audible. Lin Yi gasped sharply. This is smuggling. The document was Yaya's diary, which detailed how the Liu family used their adopted daughter to curry favor with the powerful, as well as several large-scale illegal transactions. These are enough to bring the Liu family down, Lin Yi said excitedly, but I noticed the last paragraph of the diary. If the Liu family discovers these are gone, they'll definitely investigate. Xing, I'm sorry, I may have dragged you into this, but please believe me, this is the only right thing I can do. My eyes grew moist. My enemy from my previous life is now atoning in this way in this life. We have to be careful, Lin Yi said seriously. These pieces of evidence need to be handed over to trustworthy media outlets and the police. We made a plan, make multiple copies of the evidence, keep them in separate places, and contact Lin Yi's journalist friend at the provincial newspaper. Before leaving, Lin Yi suddenly asked me, why are you so obsessed with this? I looked at the sunset outside the window and said softly, because this was her last wish. When I got home, I was restless all night. Huang Shuamei noticed something was off about me, but she didn't ask any further questions. She just warmed a glass of milk for me. Mom, if I did something dangerous but right, would you blame me? She stroked my hair. As long as you think it's worth it, Mom will support you. I leaned against her shoulder, feeling the warmth of that strength. The next day, local news suddenly broke the story that the Liu group was suspected of smuggling and bribery. Lin Yi called excitedly. My friend released the article early. The Liu family is in total chaos now. I turned on the TV and saw footage of the Liu group building surrounded by reporters, but my joy didn't last long. When school let out in the afternoon, I realized someone was following me. A man in a black suit kept a distance that was neither too close nor too far. I deliberately took a detour and shook him off. But the unease in my heart grew stronger and stronger. When I got home, I immediately checked the doors and windows to make sure they were all locked. During dinner, the doorbell suddenly rang. Our whole family froze. Who is it? Li Guiqiang asked loudly. Property management. The downstairs residents reported a leaking water pipe, so we came to check it. The voice sounded very unfamiliar. Li Guiqiang looked through the peephole. It's not the usual Xiao Wang. We exchanged a wary glance. Come back tomorrow. We're already resting, Li Guiqiang said. There was a brief silence outside the door. Then the footsteps gradually faded away. We all let out a sigh of relief, but we knew this was only the beginning. That evening, I received a call from Lin Yi. His voice was tense and hurried. Xing, be careful. Zhang Ming was in a car accident, and he's in the hospital now. Before he lost consciousness, he said someone was following him. I was cold all over. Where's the evidence? His copy was taken away. I've already handed mine over to the police. You'd better watch yourself. After hanging up, I immediately hid the USB drive in Xuyang's teddy bear. Then I briefly explained the situation to Huang Shuamei and Li Guiqiang. We have to leave for a few days. Li Guiqiang made the decision at once. we're going to your grandma's place. In the countryside, we quickly packed a few simple bags. Just as we were getting ready to head out, the phone rang again. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Li Xingxing, a cold male voice said. Who are you, mister? Lu wants to see you. About, yeah, my heart nearly stopped. I don't understand what you mean. Don't play dumb, the other person sneered. We know the USB drive is in your hands. Hand it over, and it'll be better for everyone. I don't know anything about a USB drive. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a penalty toast. Do you think your family is safe? The phone was hung up. I was shaking all over as I told my parents what had happened. We're leaving right now. Li Guoqiang picked up Xiaoyang, who was still sound asleep, but when we opened the door, 3 men in black were already standing at the entrance. Where are you going so late? The man in front grinned. The men in black blocked the doorway, a cold smile hanging at the corners of their mouths. Where are you all going so late? As a family, Li Guoqiang shoved Xiaoyang into my arms and stood in front of us. What are you trying to do? I'm calling the police. The man at the front snorted and shook the police badge in his hand. Recognize this. Captain Wang is my buddy. My heart sank to the bottom. The Lu family's influence was even deeper than I had imagined. Wang Shuamei clutched my arm tightly, her voice trembling. Don't do anything reckless. The man shoved Li Guoqiang aside and strode into the house. I heard you took something you shouldn't have. His gaze swept over the luggage we had hurriedly packed. Search. The other two immediately began rifling through the bags and turning everything upside down. Xiaoyang was woken by the noise and rubbed his eyes. Sister, what's wrong? I covered his eyes. It's nothing. We're playing a game. Don't open them. Books were thrown to the floor, drawers yanked all the way out, and dishes smashed into pieces. Wang Shuamei wept silently, while Li Guoqiang clenched his fists but dared not make a move. Boss. No, one of his men reported. The man in the lead narrowed his eyes, suddenly fixing his gaze on the teddy bear in Xiang's arms. This hasn't been searched yet. My heartbeat almost stopped. The USB drive was hidden in the stuffing of the teddy bear. The man reached out to grab it, but Xiaoyang clutched the teddy bear tightly. It's mine. Xiaoyang, give it to him, I said anxiously, but the child stubbornly shook his head. No, this is the birthday present my sister gave me. The man impatiently snatched it away and roughly tore open the seams of the teddy bear. White cotton scattered all over the floor, but the USB flash drive was gone. I froze. I had clearly put it in there myself. The man angrily threw the broken teddy bear to the ground. Where the hell did you hide it? Just then, the sound of sirens suddenly came from outside the door. The men in black all changed expression. Boss, didn't you say everything was taken care of? Shut up. Several police officers rushed in. Someone reported that there was an illegal intrusion here. The leading officer frowned when he saw the man in black. Old Zhao, what are you doing here? The man in black immediately put on a smile. Captain Zheng, we received a tip-off that this family is hiding contraband. Do you have a search warrant? The man in black fell silent. Officer Zheng looked around the wrecked room, his expression darkening. Everyone, come back to the station with me to give statements. I let out a sigh of relief, but then suddenly noticed Xiaoyang secretly tugging at the hem of my shirt. He opened his little fist, and there it was, the USB drive. It turned out he had somehow discovered it earlier and had cleverly hidden it away. I quickly stuffed the USB drive into my pocket and made a shoe gesture at him. Xiaoyang blinked and nodded obediently. By the time I finished giving my statement at the police station, it was already 3 a.m. Since they didn't have a search warrant, those men in black were given a scolding. But we know this is only temporary safety. We can't go back to that home anymore, Li Guoqiang said softly. Officer Zhang happened to walk over and heard those words. Who did you offend? That bunch with old Zhao are not easy to deal with. I hesitated for a moment and decided to take a gamble. Officer Zhang, do you know Director Chen from the provincial department? He froze for a moment. My teacher, what about him? I took out the USB drive. There's evidence of the Lu Group's crimes here. Could you please pass it on to Director Chen? Officer Zhang's expression turned serious. He took us to the office and checked the contents of the USB drive. This. He looked at me in shock. Where did you get this? Left behind by the Lu family's adopted daughter, who had just passed away. He pondered for a moment and solemnly took the USB drive. I'll hand it to the teacher myself. In the meantime, find a safe place. We went to Grandma's house in the countryside, a place the Lu family didn't know about. 3 days later, the news exploded. the chairman of Lu Group, Lu Haichuan, has been taken away by police for investigation on suspicion of smuggling, bribery, and organizing prostitution. Multiple senior officials are implicated, and the Provincial Commission for Discipline Inspection has set up a special task force. Lu Group headquarters has been sealed off. I looked at the news alerts on my phone and let out a long sigh. Wang Shuamei held me and cried tears of joy. It's over, it's finally over. But my joy didn't last long that night. An unexpected person appeared at the door of my grandma's house. Yeah. Her face was ashen, her clothes were tattered, and her body was covered in injuries. Xing, help me, she said, then fainted. We quickly carried her into the house. She had multiple bruises and burn wounds on her body, clearly having been subjected to severe torture. Wasn't she dead? Li Guiqiang asked in shock. I examined her injuries and understood what was going on. The one who fell from the building was a stand-in. The Lu family discovered that the evidence had been leaked and thought she was the one hiding it. So, Wang Shuamei drew in a sharp breath. That's too cruel. We briefly treated Ye's wound and gave her some hot soup. In the middle of the night, she finally woke up. When she saw me, tears instantly streamed down her face. Xing, I'm sorry. I held her hand. It's all over now. The Lu family is finished. She shook her head desperately. No, I stole your money. I froze. What? That day, outside the police station, I saw the USB drive in Xuyang's hand. I followed you, and stole your savings and your ID card. I felt as if I had been struck by lightning and hurriedly checked my backpack. Sure enough, the envelope with the money and my ID card were gone. Yaya was sobbing uncontrollably. I wanted to report the Lu family, to claim credit, but they found out I was the one who hid the USB drive. So, I looked at this person with mixed feelings. The one who had caused my death in my previous life and betrayed me again in this one, whereas the USB drive, they took it away, but Officer Zheng's copy is already. I see. In the end, the Lu family was exposed entirely thanks to the copy Lin Yi handed to Officer Zheng, and Yuan betrayed me once again. Wang Shuamei and Li Guiqiang looked at each other, not knowing what to do, but Xiaoyang suddenly ran over and handed Yuan an apple. Don't cry, sis, eat an apple. Yaya froze, then broke down in tears. I'm not worthy, I sighed. Money can be earned again if it's lost. As long as you're okay, that's what matters. Early the next morning, we found that Yaya was gone. A note was left on the table. Xing, I'm sorry. I went to do what I had to do. We hurried back to the city and found the police were searching the Lu family villa. An officer told us that this morning, a badly battered girl had come to turn herself in, and she had also provided more evidence of the Lu family's crimes. She's in the hospital now, and her condition isn't very good. In the hospital ward, we saw Yaya covered in tubes. The doctor said she had internal bleeding in multiple organs, and that surviving until now was already a miracle. Seeing us, Yaya gave a weak smile. She handed me a blood-stained USB drive with trembling hands. This is the original. I secretly made a fake copy for them. I took her hand, tears streaming down my face. Why would you do this? She breathed with difficulty. Because this is the only right thing. Her gaze passed over me and fell on Wang Shuamei and Xiaoyang. You're so happy. The monitor suddenly let out a piercing alarm. Doctors and nurses rushed in to resuscitate him, but it was already too late. Yaya was gone, taking with her his final redemption. A month later, Lu Haichuan was sentenced to life imprisonment, and the Lu group completely collapsed. My family and I returned to our original home and began rebuilding our lives. Although our savings were gone, we had each other. That day, I was sorting through Yaya's belongings, the personal items returned by the police, inside a worn-out fairy tale book. I found a yellowed photograph that was me and Yaya as children, under the cherry blossom tree at the orphanage, smiling without a care in the world. On the back of the photo, it read, if I could do it all over again, I would surely cherish you properly, my dear sister. My tears fell onto the photo of this time. We all made different choices, and she, at last, found her true self in the end. The early spring sunlight filtered through the curtains and spilled into the room. I sat at my desk sorting through the documents sent by the court. The Lu family's case had finally been brought to a close. In addition to Lu Haichuan being sentenced to life imprisonment, more than a dozen officials involved in the case had also been taken down. Yaya was posthumously recognized as someone who made a meritorious report, but to us, that no longer mattered. Xing, dinner's ready. Wang Shuamei called from the kitchen. There were only 2 simple dishes and a soup on the dining table. After Yaya stole the family's savings, we had no choice but to tighten our belts, but no one complained. Xiaoyang sat obediently in the child's chair, using a spoon to diligently scoop up the rice. Sis, eat some meat. He clumsily picked up a piece of meat and put it into my bowl. I patted his head. Xiaoyang is such a good boy. Li Guiqiang quickly finished eating, wiped his mouth, and said, I'm off to work. I've got some overtime today. Since the factory shut down, he could only take odd jobs to support the family. I put away the bowls and chopsticks and got ready to go to school. Mom, I have an interview today, so I might be back late. Wang Shuamei helped straighten my collar. What interview? A part-time job at a bookstore, not far from the school. She seemed to want to say something but stopped herself, finally just nodding. Be careful on the way. The cherry blossoms on campus have bloomed again, their pink and white petals dancing in the wind. Linny was waiting for me at the entrance of the library, holding 2 cups of coffee. Here, have some coffee to perk you up. I took the coffee, it was just the right temperature. Thank you, senior. He scratched his head. Don't be so polite, by the way. How's your preparation for the bookstore interview going? Not bad, just an ordinary part-time job. Linny hesitated for a moment. Actually, there's an opening for an editorial assistant at the school newspaper. The pay is a bit higher than the bookstore. I smiled gratefully. Thanks, but I prefer the atmosphere of the bookstore. He nodded, then suddenly lowered his voice. Have Yaya's belongings been sorted through yet? I shook my head. There are still some I haven't looked at. If you need any help, feel free to come find me anytime. The interview went very smoothly. The bookstore owner was a kind middle-aged woman, and she decided to hire me on the spot. You can start work tomorrow. The hourly wage isn't high, but you're free to read any books you like. She winked. On the way home, I detoured to the orphanage. The principal mom was very happy to see me. Xing, coming quickly, I handed her a bag of fruit for the kids. She held my hand and said, You're always so thoughtful. By the way, Yaya's things, I came for this. The dean took me to the storage room, where there was a small cardboard box. This was set back by the police. They said it was Yaya's personal belongings, seized from the Liu family home. The box was very light. Inside were only a few pieces of clothing, a photo album, and a jewelry box. I flipped through the photo album, and most of it was posed photos of Yaya at the Liu family's house, her smile stiff, but on the last few pages, there were some yellowed old photos pasted in, group shots of us at the orphanage. On the back of one of them, it said, My only truly happy time. There was only a silver necklace in the jewelry box, and the pendant was a little star. I remember this. It was given to us by the dean on our 10th birthday, one for each of us. Mine had long been thrown away by Madame Liu on the grounds that it was not noble enough. I didn't expect Yaya to have kept hers. When I got home, I put Yaya's things away in the drawer and started preparing dinner. When Huang Shuamei came back, she looked unusually excited. Xing, good news. She waved a letter in her hand. What good news? Compensation. The court has ordered the Liu family to compensate us for our losses and emotional distress. And it's 200,000 yuan. I froze. Really? Absolutely true. The lawyer just called. We held each other tightly, crying and laughing. This money is enough for us to start over. That evening, Li Guiqiang brought back a cake. Let's celebrate. Xiaoyang excitedly circled the cake, chanting, Cake, cake. Just as we were about to cut the cake, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and it was Lin Yi, still holding a bouquet of flowers. Senior, he seemed a little uneasy. I heard you received the compensation payment, so I came to congratulate you. I invited him in, and he politely greeted my parents. These flowers are for Auntie. He handed the flowers to Huang Shuamei. Huang Shuamei beamed with delight. What a considerate child. After Lin Yi sat down, he took a document envelope out of his bag. Xing, I have an idea I want to discuss with you. He took out a proposal. I want to write a non-fiction book about the Liu family case. You're the one who knows the inside story best. I frowned. I don't want to think about those things anymore. I understand, he said quickly, but this is also to warn future generations, and we can split the royalties 50-50. Wang Shuamei and Li Guiqiang exchanged a glance and said nothing. I pondered for a moment, then finally shook my head. I'm sorry, senior, I want to turn the page on this. Lin Yi was a little disappointed, but he respected my decision. As he was leaving, he suddenly said, By the way, do you remember the old butler of the Liu family? What about him? He came to see me yesterday and said he had some things about Yaya he wanted to tell you. My heart skipped a beat. What things? he wouldn't say, he only said he wanted to tell you in person. He'll be waiting for you at the old tea house at 3 tomorrow afternoon. The next afternoon, I arrived at the old tea house as promised. The Liu family's old butler sat in the corner, looking much older than before. Miss Li, he stood up, his voice hoarse. After I sat down, he handed me a brown paper envelope. These are some of the master's, no, Liu Haichuan's personal documents. I think you should take a look. I asked warily, why give it to me? The old butler sighed. Miss Yaya is actually his biological daughter. I was so shocked I couldn't speak. More than 20 years ago, Liu Haichuan raped a maid. After the girl gave birth to the child, she killed herself. The child was sent to an orphanage. My hands began to tremble. He took in Miss Yaya at first out of guilt, but later he realized he could use her. The old butler shed tears. I'm a coward. I never dared to say anything, until the day before Miss Yaya died. She came to me and begged me to help her. I opened the document bag, and inside were the DNA test report and some photos. The girl in the photos looked exactly like Yaya. She must be her biological mother. Miss Yaya's final words were that she hoped you could forgive her. I wiped away my tears and nodded. I forgave her a long time ago. Leaving the tea house, I went to the cemetery. Yaya's gravestone was very simple, with only her name and the years of her birth and death. I hung that star necklace on the gravestone. In the next life, let's be true sisters. Time flies. 5 years have passed. We used the compensation money to open a small bookstore, and the second floor was converted into a cafe. Wang Shuamei was in charge of coffee and desserts. I handled book purchasing, and Li Guoqiang took care of all the repair work. Xiaoyang is in elementary school now, and comes to the bookstore every day after school to do homework. That afternoon, I was organizing newly arrived books when the wind chime rang. Welcome. I looked up and froze. It was Lin Yi, more mature and composed than before. Long time no see. Xing, I smiled. What brings you here, senior? He looked around the bookstore and exclaimed, this is really nice, just as cozy as I imagined. Would you like something to drink? My mom's special coffee blend is great. We sat by the window and chatted about how we'd been lately. He was already a well-known journalist and had just published a best-selling book. Actually, I came today with a request. He seemed a little nervous. He took a deep breath and pulled a small box out of his pocket. Star, ever since I first saw you in college, the wind chimes rang again, and Xiaoyang rushed in. Sis, I got full marks on my essay. When he saw Lin Yi, he immediately stood up properly. Hello, brother Lin. Lin Yi smiled and patted his head. Xiaoyang has grown taller. Huang Shuamei poked her head out from the kitchen. Lin Yi, you're here. Stay for dinner. The setting sun shone through the glass window, bathing the bookstore in gold. I looked at everything before me, my heart full of gratitude. The Liu family's eldest daughter from her past life, who had been treated as a bargaining chip and met a tragic end at the hands of her sisters, had already become nothing more than a distant nightmare. And in this life, the ordinary girl Li Xingxing, surrounded by love, had finally found the most precious kind of ordinary happiness. Lin Yi quietly took my hand, and I smiled back at him. Outside the window, cherry blossoms were drifting down in the wind. Spring had come once again. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your feelings in the comments. Let's begin a new story below. In my past life, my parents asked my younger brother and me who wanted to become a child model to help lighten the burden on the family. I felt sorry that my parents had such a hard time, and I also felt sorry that my younger brother was so young, so I took the initiative to shoulder this burden. With my own hard work, I carved out a place for myself in the child model industry and brought home a car and a house for my family. It was only when overwork had left me riddled with illness that my parents and younger brother heartlessly kicked me out. The money has to be spent where it matters. We need to save this money at home for your brother to get a wife. I ended up living on the streets and was tortured to death by illness, but when I died, I only then discovered that ever since the day I agreed to become a child model, my parents had been feeding me a lot of hormone pills to suppress my height, leaving me permanently stuck at 140 cm. When I opened my eyes again, my parents were looking at us with smiles and asked, which of you wants to be a child model? This time, without hesitation, I pushed my younger brother out. Xiaodi, Xiaoman, which of you wants to go shoot an ad and help mom and dad make money? As soon as I opened my eyes, I heard my mother's voice. She looked at my younger brother and me with a smile, holding 2 hamburgers in her hands. I suddenly sat up, and only then did I realize that I had actually been reborn. At this point in my previous life, I had been the one to stand up first, but in the end, it somehow came to such a tragic ending this time. I quietly nudged my younger brother forward. Mom, let my brother go, he looks better than I do. If it's for shooting an ad, those cameramen should like him more too. As soon as I finished speaking, my mom's face darkened. She reached out a finger and poked my forehead hard. Gua. Xiaoman, how can you be so selfish? How old is your little brother? And you're actually thinking of making him go out and earn money for us? What was the point of raising you all these years? My younger brother stood off to the side and clapped his hands, mimicking my mother's tone. Better to raise a piece of roast pork than to have you. My gaze darkened slightly, and a hint of self-mockery colored my eyes. I had originally thought that Mom and Dad were simply playing favorites. As long as I could obey them, maybe I could win a little of their affection, but now it seemed they had had their sights set on me all along. Thinking of this, I pinched the soft flesh on my arm hard, and tears sprang to my eyes instantly. Mom, it's precisely because my little brother is so young that I want to give this opportunity to him. Look at the stars in TV dramas, some earn 2.08 million a day. If my brother starts filming commercials from a young age, he'll definitely make his way into the entertainment industry when he grows up. As soon as she said that, my mom exchanged a hesitant glance with my dad. After a long while, my mom said resentfully, "We'll see when the time comes." I knew she was rejecting my suggestion. Chapter 2. But I wasn't worried at all. After all, tomorrow was the first photo shoot for the child model, and this one and only spot was something she got only after begging everyone she could and giving my dad a lot of gifts. She could never give up this opportunity. So as long as I couldn't become a child model, my younger brother definitely wouldn't be able to get away from it. Just then, my younger brother suddenly darted out. In his hand was the lipstick my mother usually couldn't bear to use. Before I could say anything, he grabbed the lipstick and slammed it hard against my face. Ugly freak, hee hee. His voice was full of the smugness of having successfully pulled off a prank. As he spoke, his hand only pressed harder, until the lipstick gave off a sharp snapping sound. Only then did he clap his hands and toss it at my feet. Without a moment's hesitation, I stepped forward and slapped him. Who told you to mess with Mom's lipstick? I had been worried about finding a chance to leave some marks on my face, but I hadn't expected luck to come my way. After getting hit, my younger brother suddenly jumped off the stool and shoved me hard. The massive rattling of furniture and the sound of things scattering drew my parents over. They rushed over, only to see my younger brother pinning me down and beating me. Oh dear, what's going on this time? My dad stood by with a smile and said, "Our little D is so strong, he'll definitely be able to protect Dad and Mom in the future." I sneered, ignoring my parents' favoritism. Instead, I silently gritted my teeth and avoided my younger brother's face, striking only at places where marks wouldn't easily show. After all, he was going to be a child model, and his face absolutely could not be injured. Suddenly, I felt a sharp sting on my left cheek, followed by a warm trickle slowly sliding past the corner of my mouth. It all happened so abruptly that by the time my mom pulled my brother up, a thin, long scratch had already appeared on my face. Seeing blood on my face, my mom immediately panicked. She looked at my younger brother, her eyes full of blame. "Xiaodi, your sister was just playing with you. What are you doing?" On the surface, she was blaming my brother, but in reality, she was only worried about whether my face would still be able to continue filming tomorrow. My younger brother snorted coldly. "She hit me first." My dad rushed over at the sound, grabbed his ear, and said, "You little brat, apologize to your sister." I squeezed out 2 tears. I didn't want to hit him, but he was the one who broke the lipstick Mom likes the most. What do we do now? My mom paced back and forth anxiously. Tomorrow is the scheduled time for the shoot. What are we supposed to do now that she's injured? I touched my cheek and let out a sigh of relief. My dad's gaze moved back and forth between my brother and me, and in the end, it still settled on my brother. He took a drag from his cigarette and said, "Let Xiao Man recover for a while first. Tomorrow, let's have Xiaodi go audition first." Chapter 3. At the dinner table, my mom, for once, handed me a big chicken leg. "Xiao Man, you're still growing right now, so eat more." I glanced at the dining table, which was completely empty, with no sign of a second chicken drumstick in my memory. The scene had played out countless times. Each time, I thought it was my parents' favoritism toward me. It wasn't until I was 10 that I discovered my body was different from that of the kids around me. So I begged my parents to take me to the hospital, But my mother just looked at me and smiled. Isn't this just perfect? If you grow taller, you won't be able to do child modeling anymore. What does that mean? That means our little man was born to be a child model, but only after I died. Did I learn that they had put hormone drugs in all of my daily food to suppress my growth? I let out a cold laugh. In that case, you'd better save this drumstick for your precious son. After my parents went into the kitchen, I put the chicken leg into my younger brother's bowl and gave him a look, signaling him to eat it quickly. He was a little surprised, but in the end he couldn't resist the temptation of the food. In no time, he finished the chicken leg and threw the bone into my bowl. After dinner, my mom carefully applied medicine to my cheek. This medicine was bought by your dad from the pharmacy downstairs. Girls must take good care of their faces. If it leaves a scar, it won't look good. Yeah, if my face ends up scarred, then I won't be able to make that much money. Early the next morning, my parents woke me up. My younger brother had already changed into his new clothes and was sitting on the sofa waiting for us. Xiaoman, today you'll first go with your younger brother to the studio and watch how he shoots. Once the wounds on your face have healed, Mom and Dad will still support you in becoming a child model. I nodded obediently, then followed in my parents' footsteps. The children in the studio were all around the same age as us. My younger brother quickly got along with them. It wasn't until the shoot officially began that he reluctantly said goodbye to them. I have to admit, my younger brother really does have a talent for modeling. He mostly got it right on the first take. Even the photography teacher sang his praises, saying he was born for this stage. My parents, sitting nearby, had smiles that grew more and more pronounced at the corners of their mouths, a pride and satisfaction unique to parents. As for me, whether in front of the camera or behind the scenes, I had hardly ever received any praise from them. My younger brother was very efficient. In just 5 hours, he finished shooting all the content needed for the entire day. After the work was done, my dad handed the photographer a cigarette and begged him to let me take a set of photos too. The photographer thought for a moment and still nodded. He pointed at me. You give it a try. Chapter 4. I took the clothes they had selected and went into the fitting room. When I came out again, I was standing under the spotlight and instantly became the center of attention in the room, but I didn't pose the way they taught me to. Instead, in an almost rebellious manner, I tilted my mouth, squinted, and pouted. A series of gestures that left everyone present stunned. The photographer sighed. You know how to do a peace sign, right? I nodded, flashed a peace sign, and then bared my big front teeth. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and a flicker of an emotion I couldn't understand flashed across his eyes. Xiaoman's smile is very innocent, but her sense of how to pose for the camera. The photographer shook his head and turned his gaze to my parents. Compared with Xiaoman seems to be lacking a little talent if she wants to go down the path of child modeling. He paused for a moment, then looked at my parents and continued, I'm afraid that won't work. You'd better focus on cultivating Xiaodi. After I got home, my parents didn't even want to look at me. Having lost all usefulness, I was simply sent off by them to wash vegetables. They sat together on the sofa, counting the earnings my younger brother had brought home for the family today. In just 5 hours, he earned a staggering 1,000 yuan. My dad lifted his chin. Looking extremely pleased, he patted my younger brother on the head, as expected of my son, so capable. My mom also nodded. Sweetie, tell Mom what you want to eat, and Mom will make it for you. Our little star worked hard filming today. My younger brother thought for a moment and said, the kids who filmed with me today all have the latest iPhone, and Mom, take me to buy one too. My mother's eyes were full of indulgence and understanding as she smiled gently. Sure, once we finish dinner, let's go out and buy one. I gave a self-mocking smile. In my past life, when I was in high school, I begged my mom to take me to buy a cell phone, but she said impatiently, what do you need a cell phone for right now? Stop fussing over these flashy things. Are you all prepared for tomorrow's shoot? Who would have thought that the things I wanted in high school, my younger brother had already gotten when he was 5. My brother's innocent smile and my mom's unconditional love stand in such stark contrast to everything I've experienced in the past, so the difference between being loved and not being loved is really this obvious. After my parents took my younger brother and left, they didn't even let me eat. They just left me a table of leftovers to clean up. After they had gone far away, I went to my parents' bedroom. After rummaging through the cabinets and drawers for a while, I found the hormone medicine in a drawer in their bedroom. With trembling hands, I picked up one of the packets and walked into the kitchen. Without hesitation, I poured the powder into the flour. Chapter 5. since they liked buying hormone drugs so much, I'd make sure they had enough to take all at once. By the time they came back, it was already 9 p.m. As soon as my younger brother came in, he waved his hand. He was holding the latest iPhone in his hand. "Look, this is a gift from my parents." His voice was full of smug boasting. I pressed my lips together and said nothing. The atmosphere at home was unusually lively, and my parents excitedly discussed the upcoming National Day holiday. They planned to throw a grand celebratory banquet for my younger brother to celebrate his recent signing as a child model. "Let's hold it at Mengjiang Tower. I love their handheld pork ribs." My mom patted his head and agreed right away. In the days that followed, my mom would always take advantage of the time when my younger brother was in class to go to the school and pick him up. "Teacher, I'm here to pick up our Xiaodi. He has an ad shoot today." Under the envious gazes of the other students, my younger brother followed my mom out, as if, in her heart, every appearance my younger brother made in front of the camera was more important than the knowledge in his textbooks. In the days that followed, this scene became a regular occurrence on campus. Meanwhile, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Wang, grew increasingly anxious after repeated attempts to persuade them. "Xiaodi's mother, I understand your expectations for your child's future, but you should know that Xiaodi is now in the golden period of learning. If he shifts his focus away from studying too early, I worry he may miss out on much of the knowledge and experience essential to his growth. If, in the future, he really loves this job, then I'd suggest he apply for a related major in college or even take the entrance exam for a drama school." But my mom didn't appreciate it at all and even snapped at the teacher a few times. "What do you know? Our little D is born to be a star." After saying that, she looked the teacher up and down. "Do you know what it means to earn 208 million a day? As for studying, once he becomes a big star, of course he'll have a team to handle everything for him." From then on, no matter how long my younger brother missed class, the teacher no longer bothered to ask about it. These days, my parents have been taking my younger brother to all kinds of advertising and modeling shoots since they weren't home. I happened to enjoy a bit of peace and quiet as well. During this time, I made sure to eat until I was about 80% full at school, and I never once touched any of the food at home. Now that no one is home, I can finally make myself something to eat without worrying. When the ingredients run out, I'll go to the little supermarket downstairs and ask to put it on credit, telling the owner that I'll settle the bill once my parents come back. In my previous life, whether at school or after entering society, I suffered all kinds of cold stares and ridicule because of my height. They said I was a dwarf, a shorty, a bastard, unwanted by both my father and mother. In this life, I don't want to worry about anything. I just want to use health and hard work to exchange for a completely different life. This time, Mom and Dad were gone for more than half a month. I didn't have a phone, and I had no idea where they had gone. Chapter 6. Early in the morning, I was woken up by my youngest aunt. "Today at Mengjiang Tower, your parents are treating us, didn't you know? How did you sleep until this hour?" I sat up, got dressed, and looked into my aunt's eyes as I said word by word, "I didn't know. My parents left half a month ago, and no one told me where they went. I could only stay at home." As soon as I finished speaking, my aunt looked at me with a face full of sympathy. She stuffed the steamed buns she had bought into my hands. "Have a couple of bites first to fill your stomach. Once we're full, we'll head out." Half an hour later, my aunt and I arrived at Mengjiang Tower. My younger brother was standing on stage, now dressed head to toe in designer brands. The thick gold chain around his neck glittered blindingly under the lights, and he exuded the air of a nouveau riche from head to toe. However, half a month had passed, and he didn't seem to have grown any taller. He did, however, look as if he had put on quite a bit of weight, and he was looking more and more like my dad. "Oh, Xiaodi has really become a big star now." "Yeah, Xiaodi is really something. He's so young, and he already knows how to make money for the family." "Exactly. What parent wouldn't feel relieved to have a son like that? I'm so jealous. If my own brat were even half as sensible as Xiaodi, that would be great." When she saw me, the smile on my mother's face froze instantly. It seemed she had forgotten that someone like me even existed. "Oh, Xiaoman is here too. Long time no see. You seem to have grown quite a bit taller." "Yeah, and if you ask me, Xiaofan is the lucky one, with both a son and a daughter, and now her son is so capable too." My mom awkwardly greeted me twice, then turned around and answered the phone. If I'm not mistaken, it should be Mr. Wang from the supermarket downstairs. After all, In just half a month, the amount I'd run up on credit with him had already reached 1,000 yuan. Sure enough, after hanging up, my mom stormed over to me in a rage. Guo man, what did you do? How did you end up running up so much debt at the supermarket downstairs? We leave you alone for just one day and you're already acting up, huh? At your age, where exactly did all that money go? I didn't even have time to speak before my dad grabbed my ear and twisted it. Spit it out now. Where did you spend all the money? Why didn't you tell us in advance? Did you think that just because we haven't been home these past few days, you could run wild all by yourself? The people around us seemed to catch the scent of gossip and gathered in closer one after another. There was a mix of curiosity and a gleeful, no fear of chaos look in her eyes. I dodged as I ran toward the crowd. I didn't waste money. I only bought things I needed. That would have been fine if I hadn't said it, but as soon as I did, my mom got even angrier. Her angry voice exploded in my ears like thunder. You still dare to lie? She strode over, seized the moment, grabbed me by the collar, and dragged me off the stage. You're even a little older than Xiaodi. Why can't you be a bit more sensible? Chapter 7. I let out a cold laugh. Considerate about what? Considerate enough to work yourself to death making money for you, only to end up with nothing left of your body. The subtle change in the crowd shifted from casual chatter to whispered conversation, and then to pointing that I could feel directed at me. The celebration feast my mom held for my younger brother had started with her criticizing me, and had now turned into a judgment of my personal conduct. Xiaoman, your mother is right. At your age, studying should be your top priority. How could you go by those random things? Yes, Xiaoman, listen to your aunt. Go apologize to your mother. There's no grudge between a mother and daughter that lasts overnight. I hid behind my aunt. In my past life, after I fell gravely ill, it was my aunt who used her shoulders to bear my entire world, but by then, I was already a dying candle in the wind and no longer wanted to become my aunt's burden. So one evening, while my aunt was away from home, I quietly left her house. I'm sure that after I left, my aunt must have felt very guilty. My aunt shielded me behind her. Sister-in-law, if you have something to say, go home and say it properly. Why criticize the child in front of so many people? My mom put her hands on her hips and cursed at her. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I just said? She racked up a tab of a full 1,000 yuan at the supermarket downstairs. As soon as my mom finished speaking, someone nearby urged my aunt. At least she's the child's mother. Can't a child be criticized for being so extravagant with money? As the aunt, you should just stay out of it. My younger brother also came down from the stage at that moment. He shoved me hard and said, Guo man, my dad and mom are out there making money, and this is how you waste it, right? I glared at him fiercely, then turned and ran onto the stage, grabbed the microphone, plopped down, and started throwing a tantrum and rolling around on the floor. Mom and Dad, you took my little brother out to do a photo shoot, and I didn't dare say a word. After all, you were doing it to make money. But once you're gone, it's been more than half a month, and there's nothing left at home. The expired instant noodles have also been eaten up. I only went to see Boss Wang because I was really too hungry to bear it. As soon as he finished speaking, the people around them began to buzz with discussion. I thought they would take good care of Xiaoman when they went to shoot the commercial, but I never expected them to leave Xiaoman at home to starve to death. Yeah, they actually let a 7-year-old child eat expired instant noodles. What heartless parents. The look on my parents' faces was beyond words. They opened their mouths, but not a word came out. It seemed they hadn't expected that I would have such a side to me. After all, I used to be an introverted girl who wouldn't even dare to say a word in front of others, and just then, my younger brother had to stir things up and make things worse. He shoved me aside and snatched the microphone from my hand. What's wrong with not giving you food? You haven't earned a single cent. Why should Mom and Dad feed you? Mom and Dad both said it. You're just a worthless loser. When you turn 18, they'll sell you for money. Chapter 8. My mother rushed over and snatched the microphone from my younger brother's hand. She let out 2 awkward chuckles. He's still little. He's just talking nonsense. Don't take it seriously. As she spoke, my mom glared at me twice before saying, then why didn't you talk it over properly with your dad and me? We thought you had spent that money recklessly. I burst into tears. I didn't have a phone. I couldn't find you or dad. I stayed home alone for half a month. I was scared. As I spoke, I rolled up my sleeve. A pea-sized blister had suddenly appeared on my arm. It was from hot oil splashing onto me by accident when I fried eggs last night. I cried as I shouted, Mom, I've been cooking for myself all these days. If you won't praise me, fine, but why do you have to criticize me too? I have to say, I also have quite a talent for acting. Tears come on so suddenly. My mom gave 2 awkward laughs, then said, Xiaoman, your dad and I wrongly blamed you. Can you eat a little more today? Okay. As she spoke, she began urging the people around her to take their seats, but I still stood on the stage, relentless. I know you're all usually very busy, and I can't keep going to Uncle Wang's place to buy things on credit all the time. Could you give me some living expenses? It'd be best if you could also get me a mobile phone, that way, whenever I miss you, Dad, or my little brother, I can just call you directly. My aunt also chimed in from the side, yes, sis-in-law, get Xiaoman a cell phone. When you're not at home, if something happens to the child, it'll be too late. More and more people began to speak up for me, and my mom, out of sheer helplessness, finally put the phone she had used for 4 years into my hands. He transferred me another 3,000 yuan. The banquet officially began, and my younger brother was brimming with confidence as he struck all kinds of cool poses he had painstakingly practiced out there over the past few days. Every move was executed with pinpoint precision, drawing the guests below the stage to turn and look, with waves of praise rising one after another. Oh my, Xiaodi was born to be a star. Little star, come sign an autograph for me. Although there had been an unpleasant scene in the middle, given my younger brother's status as a little star, there were still quite a few people eager to curry favor with my parents, and they also wanted to get their own children in as models for a stint as well. My dad stood up and began speaking at length about his unique insights into fashion and the modeling industry. The professional jargon left the parents present utterly captivated, yet also completely baffled. Just then, one parent cautiously handed over an exquisite gift box. Their eyes full of flattery and anticipation, my dad took the gift box with a smile. Then more gift boxes and envelopes were handed to my parents. They accepted them all. Just as the banquet was drawing to a close, my dad helped my mom up onto the stage. Smiling broadly. Chapter 9. The two looked at each other, as if they had reached some kind of tacit understanding. My mom took the microphone from my younger brother's hand and cleared her throat. Everyone, please allow us to temporarily interrupt this beautiful moment. My mother's voice spread throughout the entire venue through the microphone. Today, we are gathered here not only to celebrate Xiaodi's achievements. She gently touched her belly. The entire room erupted in shock, amid everyone's astonishment. She continued, it's also because a new life is about to join our big family. I glanced at my mom's belly. When she had just tried to come up on stage to grab me, I had already noticed the small gesture of her covering her lower abdomen. So she really was pregnant. I looked at my younger brother again. He was clearly stunned too, and he turned to look at my mom, his eyes full of deep surprise. My mom stroked his head. Xiaodi, Mom is going to give birth to a little brother for you. You'll definitely protect him, won't you? My younger brother pushed my mom's hand away and cried as he ran down from the stage. My mom laughed. That's just how kids are. Once his little brother is born, he'll be happy. I once thought my parents loved my younger brother, but it wasn't until this moment that I understood. They were obviously in it for the money. I had no talent for acting, so they put hormone drugs into my younger brother's daily food, freezing his height at that stage forever so he could earn them more money. They were probably the ones who knew best the consequences the hormone drugs brought to my younger brother, so they chose another path, and conceived a new life all over again. By the time my younger brother no longer has even the slightest value to use in the future, I believe Mom and Dad will also kick him away without hesitation. It turns out some people really are unfit to be parents. Look at that belly, round and bulging. There's definitely another little star hiding in there. A relative's voice carried a hint of teasing, drawing a burst of laughter from everyone. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Children just need to be healthy and happy. Although my mom said that, her eyes quietly drifted into the distance. Someone else looked at my younger brother and joked half seriously, oh, Xiaodi, your mom is about to give you a little brother. Your parents won't love you anymore after this. It was obvious my younger brother took those words to heart. When he looked at my mom again, there was a hint of an expression in his eyes that even I couldn't understand. Right now, most of the guests were around my parents, and no one was paying attention to us. I quietly stood beside my younger brother, looking tearfully in the direction of my parents. Once the baby in Mom's belly is born, you'll become just like me. My younger brother suddenly turned to look at me. Impossible, Mom loves me the most. I wiped away my tears. Yeah, before you were even born. Mom said the same thing to me. And what happened after you were born? Mom stopped loving me. My younger brother's face turned pale. He froze in place, unable to even say a word to refute me. Chapter 10. On the way home, my younger brother was deep in thought. Even when Mom and Dad called him several times in a row, he didn't respond. I silently followed behind them. When we got home, Mom and Dad were no longer as eager as usual to ask my brother how he was feeling. Instead, they were discussing what kind of name they should give the baby in Mom's belly. Just then, my younger brother suddenly rushed over. He stood before my mom and accused her. "Why do you still want to have another child?" Before my parents could even react, my younger brother had already thrown a punch, striking my mom in the abdomen. My mom's face turned instantly pale, her features twisted in pain. She looked at my younger brother in disbelief, her eyes full of anger. My dad's reaction was even more direct. Almost instinctively, he kicked my younger brother away and my younger brother stumbled and hurried forward, then fell onto the floor. His calf accidentally hit the coffee table, and a sharp pain made him burst into tears at once. "You clearly said you'd only ever love me. Why are you secretly having a baby now?" What they said is true. You don't love me anymore. You only love the baby in your belly." My mom held it in at first, but in the end she still endured the pain and stood up. She stroked her lower abdomen while soothing my younger brother's emotions. "Of course Mom loves you the most. This baby in my belly was an unexpected arrival, not something your dad and I wanted. You will always be the most important person in Mom and Dad's hearts." I stood aside, smiled, and said nothing. My younger brother is young and easy to fool, and my mom was able to calm him down with just a few words. When she saw me, my mom's face darkened again. "You little bitch. You made me lose face in front of so many people. I see your wings are getting hard now." After the National Day holiday ended, my mom withdrew both me and my younger brother from elementary school so he could focus on filming. As her belly gradually swelled, I accompanied my brother for the shooting assignments that followed. In the studio, my younger brother was standing under the spotlight. I held out the hamburger I had just bought to him, then looked at the director apologetically. "We were in such a rush when we left today that we haven't eaten yet. Could we let Xiaodi eat something first?" The director nodded in agreement, and upon hearing this, my younger brother wolfed down the hamburger and stuffed it into his mouth. After eating and drinking his fill, he returned to the stage. My gaze followed him tightly, but my thoughts had already drifted far away. When I saw him, it was as if I were seeing my past self. The same time, the same place, the spotlight crashing down onto my leg. From that moment on, my left leg was ruined. My parents left me in the hospital and never bothered to ask after me. Only after I was discharged from the hospital did I learn that they had actually made the studio staff pay compensation. I figured the timing. It was almost here. That light was about to fall. Suddenly, with a deafening roar, the massive spotlight lost control and came straight at my younger brother. It was as if time had frozen. I could only watch helplessly as it all happened, unable to stop it. Chapter 11. By the time the staff finally snapped out of their shock and rushed toward the chaos, the area beneath my brother's legs was already a horrifying red. The air was thick with the heavy smell of blood and my brother's earth-shaking cries. My brother was rushed to the hospital, and all I could do was sit in the ambulance and call my parents over and over again. It wasn't until the sixth call that I finally heard my mother's impatient voice. "Why are you calling now? Don't you know it's lunch break? If there's anything, wait until I get up and then talk." Before I could say anything, my mother hung up, unwilling to give up. I called again. After 2 beeps, my mother directly added me to the blacklist. When he was taken to the hospital, the doctor told me my younger brother had an open fracture and needed surgery. The doctor rattled off a series of medical terms I didn't understand. Something about autologous blood vessels, something about the arteries in the lower leg, and so on. Seeing my confusion, he said, "Where are your parents? Something this serious happened. How come only you 2 kids came?" I turned around and saw that, at some point, the studio crew had long since slipped away. I stood there helplessly, tears falling patter down my face. Mom and Dad aren't answering the phone. The doctor sighed and wheeled my younger brother into the operating room. Before going in, he said, "I don't know if this leg can be saved. Contact your parents first." After my younger brother's surgery was over, I finally saw my parents in the hospital. Before I could even say anything, my mother's slap landed on my face. "Is this how you take care of your younger brother?" I bit my lip and said nothing. Whether it was my leg that was injured in my past life or my younger brother's leg that is injured in this life, that slap still landed squarely on my face. To them, once I no longer had any use, I was left with only one roll, a punching bag, but they soon got their comeuppance. The doctor interrupted our argument. I'm afraid this leg can't be saved, you should rest and recover for a while first. And we'll talk again once your health improves. Who knew my mom would turn hostile on the spot? How could that be? It must be that you bunch of quacks didn't treat him properly. My son is a star, he's a model, and his leg can't be injured. The doctor looked at her in shock, unable to say a word at that moment. My mom seemed to think of something. She glanced at my younger brother. Right, we need to go find the people from the studio first. We can't let them run off, they have to pay for this. After saying that, she hurried off with my dad again, and before leaving, she even told me to take my younger brother back properly. Only after they had walked far away did I take out the bottle from my bag, the one labeled with a complicated chemical name. By the way, doctor, if my younger brother has injured his leg, can he still take this medicine? Chapter 12. I tried my best to keep my voice sounding steady, but the sweat in my palm betrayed my nerves. He took the medicine bottle, and his expression instantly shifted from calm to shock. Where did you get this medicine? My parents gave it to us. They said my younger brother had worked hard during filming and needed this medicine to replenish his body's nutrients. Before I could finish speaking, the doctor interrupted me. This medicine can't be taken. This is a highly concentrated hormone that suppresses height growth. Misuse can seriously damage the body, and even be life-threatening. His voice was so loud that even my younger brother looked over here, biting his lip. Are you sure this was given to you by your dad and mom? I nodded. I'm sure. The medicine was in mom and dad's drawer. Upon hearing this, the doctor frowned deeply and quickly pulled a phone out of the pocket of his white coat, his fingers darting across the screen. Wait a moment, I'll take you back. After quite a while, I saw a group of police officers in uniform walking over. The doctor stood up and pointed at me and my younger brother. Yes, it's these two kids. They said this medicine was given to them by their parents. At this point, he paused and glanced at my obviously overweight younger brother. According to his physical report, he may have been taking this hormonal drug for a long time, which caused his growth to stop and his weight to exceed normal levels. As the doctor spoke, he carried my younger brother into the police car. It's okay, now that the police uncle is here, you can tell the police uncle anything that's going on. I shook my head and looked at my younger brother. That's impossible, mom and dad could never drug my brother, they've always doted on him the most. Just then, the doctor suddenly said, you said your younger brother is a child model. He needs to film advertisements every day. I nodded. Yes, well, that would explain it. 10 minutes later, a police car arrived downstairs at my building. One of the police officers carried my younger brother upstairs. The moment I pushed open the door, I heard my parents' clear yet jarring voices. A satisfied smile spread across my mother's face, a look of greed and self-satisfaction I had never seen on her before. My father was nodding in agreement beside her, his eyes gleaming with calculating light. Shouty, come here quickly and take a look. One leg can be exchanged for so much money. What a bargain. As soon as she finished speaking, the sight before her scared her so much that her voice broke. The police officers all rushed in at once. 2 police officers entered mom and dad's bedroom to collect evidence and took out all the hormone pills from the drawer. The remaining police officers immediately stepped forward and restrained my parents. After witnessing all this, the doctor rushed forward in anger, looking at my parents, especially my mother, with eyes full of pain and indignation. How could you do this? He's still just a child. Chapter 13. My mother had originally been very flustered, but it wasn't until she saw her slightly protruding belly that she found a bit more confidence. He is flesh and blood cut from my own body. I can treat him however I want. It's none of your business, humph. So what if I broke the law? I'm pregnant. What can you do to me? One of the officers let out a cold laugh. Under the law, everyone is equal. Pregnancy is not an excuse to avoid responsibility, nor is it a get-out-of-jail-free card. As soon as he finished speaking, my mom's body suddenly convulsed. She clutched her abdomen, and her face turned even paler. My stomach, a glaring streak of bright red dripped down from the base of her thigh onto the floor. Horrifying to see, the police officer's expression also changed, and he quickly took out his walkie-talkie to call an ambulance. After arriving at the hospital, the baby in my mom's stomach still couldn't be saved. She stared at the ceiling and murmured, how could this be? After saying that, she suddenly looked at my younger brother. Say something. Those pills were something you wanted to take yourself, your dad and I didn't force you. But my younger brother's reaction was completely beyond her expectations. Officer, Those pills were forced on me by my mom. I didn't want to take them at all. They made me take drugs and shoot day and night to make money for them. You're making that up, officer. He's lying. I didn't do anything. I'm being framed. Unfortunately, a pair of gleaming silver handcuffs had already been placed on my mom's wrists. She and my dad were sentenced to 6 years for poisoning. After my parents were taken away, my aunt took me and my younger brother to her home. Though the place was small, it was very warm and felt like the home I remembered. My younger brother's left leg was basically completely ruined. Ever since his leg was injured, he had been quiet and withdrawn all day, unwilling to say a word, although my aunt took great care of him. My younger brother still died from multiple organ failure. My aunt pulled me into her arms and told me not to be sad. I buried my head in her clothes. I wouldn't be sad. Instead, I was afraid I might burst out laughing. After my younger brother's funeral ended, I went to see my parents and told them the news of his death, telling them to repent properly in prison. Through the glass, I saw my mother's face. Prison was the best place for her to end up. She pounded wildly on the glass. Impossible. You're lying to me. You must be lying to me. Xiaodi only took a few hormone pills. How could he die? He won't die. I let out a cold snort and turned to leave. Since the message had been delivered, there was no need for me to stay any longer. Later, I heard from my aunt that my mother died of illness in prison. Not long after my mother died, my father also went insane. I looked at the bowl of noodles my aunt had just cooked for me and smiled faintly. But what did any of this have to do with me right now? All I want is to enjoy a good bowl of noodles. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share them in the comments. We look forward to hearing from you.